Radio. Nope, we're not on Blog Talk. We're not on Blog Talk Radio. We are on StreamYard here on Seth and Sean Sports. And Seth is trying to get in as usual. So we are going to try and get him a link because, hold on one second, everybody. So hopefully he will be joining momentarily here on Seth and Sean Sports Radio. My name is Sean Palmer. I am at SU Lawyer 2001. Seth Kamens will be joining soon. He is at S Kamens on Twitter. We are on Facebook at Seth and Sean. We are also Seth and Sean Sports, excuse me. And we're also on Twitter at Seth and Sean. So tonight we will be talking about J.J. Watt. We have a lot to talk about with regards to the NBA, NCAA basketball. The tournament the associated tournaments will be coming up next week. The ACC, all the conference tournaments will be coming up next week. And then we have the NCAA tournament the following week. So we'll hopefully be having our preview shows following that. And he is over there. Hey, I got it right this time. He's over there. So Seth is trying to adjust his screen. Hi, Seth.
Hey, dude.
Hey. So you got a Maryland shirt on. Congratulations. I don't know.
We're going back to being an 8 seed and getting annihilated by Zaga in round of 32. Can't wait.
Well, with Syracuse's win over North Carolina, we are once again on the proverbial bubble.
You've been in the bubble for 17 years. Since 03, you've been in the bubble. I didn't even know you beat Carolina last night.
So we were up 10, of course, with 4 minutes to go, and we won by 2.
Well, that makes sense. You're Syracuse.
Right. We take the air out of the ball. We don't play offense, and then they just slowly creep back. So tomorrow, Syracuse plays Clemson, which is another game that is a must-have if you're Syracuse. The problem is this year is the ACC just is not very good.
No, it's not.
When you win games that you're supposed to win, generally those are quad one games. And how the tournament selection is generally done this year and for the last couple of years is based on the quality of wins. Your quadrant 1 through 4 wins. If you play a away team within the top 75, the net 75, you get a quadrant 1 win. If you play them at home and beat them, it has to be within the net 35. So Syracuse, unfortunately, has not played and won a quadrant 1 game this year. It may have changed last night, but other than that,
I don't know if North Carolina is a quad 1 win this year.
Right. Syracuse is 16-8 and has not had a quad 1 win.
Yeah, Maryland is 15 and had 10 and had 6 of them. And that was the whole point was when we were 10-9, we were still, because the Big Ten is incredibly strong this year, we were still right in the midst of it because we had 3 or 4 quad 1 wins. And I realized I read is actually of our first 13 games, because obviously the out of conference schedule was mitigated a little bit. Our first 13 games, I think 11 of the teams we played were ranked. So, and with the team without Cowan and without Jalen Smith, it took a while to blend. But I mean, we've won 5 in a row. We're anywhere from a 7 to a 9. We're in at this point, I think. And I already know what we're going to be. We're going to win our first game in a 7-10. And then we're going to be we're going to be Purdue. What Purdue does every year in the tournament. We're going to lose 62-58 in the second round. And everyone's going to say how great a job Turgeon has done. And he's done a good job with this team. But the problem is, and you get this, Syracuse makes, every 3 or 4 years, Syracuse makes a surprise run. Mm-hmm. I mean, other than the team that lost with Eton Thomas, where they were really, it was like a 1 seed, which is like, 10, 15 years ago.
Not Eton Thomas. You're talking about Arenze Onuaku, where we lost to Butler. Yep, we lost to Butler.
You lost to Butler. But you seem to make a run every 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
As a 10 seed, as an 11 seed, as a 7 seed. What are you shaking your head at?
No, that's correct. Yeah. It doesn't matter what seed we are. We make a run.
Exactly. Because nobody knows how to play against your zone. The reality, Maryland has one Sweet 16 in 10 years. And look, last year, I think we would have probably been a 2 or a 3 seed. We were very, very good. The problem is when you have one Sweet 16 at Maryland in 10 years, I don't know how excited, at some point, I don't know what they're going to do with Turgeon. And it's weird because this has probably been his best coaching year. But I don't see us going further than 16. We don't have the depth or we don't have the big men to do it. I don't know. I'm curious. There was a rumor he was going to go back to Wichita State because he hasn't gotten an extension. But that's now gone. We'll see what happens. Because he wants an extension, and I don't think the athletic director is looking to give him one.
Well, so looking at what Maryland has done this year, they've beaten up the teams that they were supposed to beat up. They're 8-0 in quad 3 and quad 4 wins, in quad 3 and quad 4 games. They are 6-10 in quad 1 and quad 2 games. And that's not to look again. That's not to say they've played 14 quad 1 games. I mean, that is a lot of quad 1 games, considering Syracuse is 1-6. So they've only played 7. SMU has only played 4. UC Santa Barbara, who's number 51 in the net, has played none. No quad 1 games.
What is Maryland in the net? Around 30? 30?
They are 28. 28 right. But if you keep going up, San Diego State, whose rank is 17, they are 0-3 in quad 1. And then Colgate, who is ranked number 9, which I did not realize, they have not played. Yes, they are net number 9. Yep.
Oh, maybe in the net, but they're not ranked.
They are net number 9.
Wow.
Now remember, they've only played 12 games. They're 11-1. They're 5-1 on their home court. They're 5-1 in quad 3 and 4-0 in quad 4. But they have yet to play. And 2-0 in quad 2. But they have not played a quad 1 game. And that will hurt them come selection. They'll win their division. They'll win the Patriot League. But
who knows if they'll win the Patriot? I mean, I hate that they're. I mean, you know my feelings on these conference championships. To me, it's just a big money grab. But I mean, if it'll be more interesting if they don't win it. To me.
Correct. So just for our listeners, a quad 1 win is a home game versus an RPI team ranked in the top 30, a neutral game versus somebody that's 1 through 50, and an away game versus 1 through 75. So if Syracuse went to North Carolina last night and won, that would have been a quad 1 win. Because it was home, that is a quad 2 win. So quad 2 is home 31 through 75, neutral 51 through 100, and away 76 through 135. Now, I like these quads because it gives an objective statistic, right?
Yep.
It's not subjective. But when you have a down conference year, kind of like what Syracuse is doing right now, and the ACC is down and no outside conference games, it's rather hard to make up those quad 1 wins. It doesn't occur. So here you are with teams that have zero. They have none. Look, Stanford is 2-4. Look, Winthrop is 21-1. They have no conference. They have no quad 1 games, not even wins, no games. So how do you judge them? They're 2-0 in quad 2, 2-0 in quad 3, and 17-1 in quad 4. But they've played the schedule that was given to them. There's nothing.
I think a more interesting example is actually looking at Memphis, who is 14-6 in the AAC, which is a decent conference. They're 59th because they're 0-2 against quad 1 and they're 4-3 against quad 2. And they're 10-1. They played of the 20 games, they're 10-1 at home. So
Syracuse is 12-1 at home. I mean, of the 22 games. So
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I still figure Duke is going to find a way to get in because they're Duke. Whether they deserve it or not, I don't know. But you're right. This is the weakest ACC year we've ever seen. Florida State is the best team in the conference. no one is that comfortable with them. Virginia is Virginia. But other than that, I mean, you're looking at a whole lot of nothing.
It's true. That's true. But you're also going to find, and this is different this year than has been in the past, right? Is that you're going to have teams that are not going to go to the tournament. Like you're going to have a COVID scare where they can't play. And then you're going to have subs in and subs out. I mean, you may not make the original selection, but you may eventually wind up being on the back end of one of those 4 teams that subs in. And that's not where you want to be either. I mean, that I don't know how you deal with this. Is that, let's say Syracuse becomes one of those teams, and I hope that they don't. I hope they beat Clemson. It doesn't matter. But and they make a run.
If they beat Clemson, are they in?
If they beat Clemson, they have to win 1 in the tournament, probably.
Okay.
So because Clemson is, hold on. So Clemson is 33rd. So Clemson's a quad 1 win. So that would be their second quad 1 win. I think that would get them in with 1 in the ACC tournament. But the difference is, let's say Syracuse loses to Clemson. Let's use another team because we don't want to be homers. Let's say USC gets in as a replacement team. And I don't know what USC is doing this year. I have no clue. But let's say they get in and they make a run and they win the whole thing as a replacement team. Are they then an asterisk team or did they win the tournament? Like,
well, I think you also have to look at it as when are they coming? Now, again, I don't know the exact way this is going to work, but when can someone sub in? Is it before the tournament starts? Is it after they've won a game?
No, it's before the tournament starts.
So, okay. So literally you could have, so what happens if a team, so there could be buys this year in the tournament because teams could have a COVID scare in the round of 16 and suddenly a team defaults into the final 8.
Okay. So let me read this. So the NCAA, this is from SI.com. The NCAA Division I committees released replacement policies for the upcoming NCAA tournament. As part of their plans, after the championship field is released and before the championship beginning, a single bid conference may replace its automatic qualifier if it is unable to participate due to COVID-19. So that's after the championship field is released and before the championship beginning. So before game 1, that's what that reads to me. Before game 1. For any multi-bid conference that has a team unable to participate, the last 4 teams not selected as at-large teams for the original field will be designated as replacement teams. So the last 4 out will become the next 4 in.
Okay, that makes sense.
1 through 4. So, and the replacement team will be placed in the bracket position left vacant by the withdrawing team. Once the bracket is finalized and released, teams will not be reseeded. So if a number 3 seed has to drop out and they are, let's say Maryland, right, from the Big Ten, that means that a last 4 out becomes a number 3 seed. That's what that means.
Wow. I mean, look, that makes sense. You can't reseed it 7 times, so I get that.
Yep. Once the tournament has begun, the NCAA stated that no team will replace a team that has a COVID-19 issue and can no longer participate. Instead, its opponent would advance to the next round via forfeit, which is what you were saying. So there may be buys.
Well, I think what's going to happen is because they're all going to be secluded in Indiana this year. So I have a feeling that there will be very few. Once the tournament is set, I don't think there'll be too many because I think everyone's going to be really staying in the hotel rooms.
Right, but you're going to go back home between games, like between weeks. You're not going to spend a week.
You're not going to spend 2.5 weeks there. But
right.
It's going to be, it'll be interesting. Look, I'm glad they've been able to get this far through it. And look, our hope is we never have to, our assumption is we'll never have to deal with this again with the tournament. Or especially now with Merck coming out, is going to help distribution with J&J. My hope is in the next 60 days, we can literally have so many of this so much of this dealt with, and hopefully can somewhat move forward.
Yeah, and then we can watch some baseball games in person. The All-Star game in Atlanta can go on as planned. I didn't even realize that the baseball All-Star game is in Atlanta this year. Like,
did you realize there was baseball this year? Did you realize there was baseball this year?
I did, and starting next week, we're going to have a baseball preview because we need to have one of those because baseball is going on as planned. Either next week or the week after, we have to have a fantasy preview because that is happening. I'm actually in a league. Somehow, I'm still in a league.
You may want to bring a different co-host for that one.
As we get
fantasy football and any fantasy basketball, I can't contribute a hell of a lot on fantasy baseball. So, that may be, and if that's the week before March 15th, I may just say, if that's next Tuesday, I may just say take it.
Yeah, I might just do that.
So,
but yeah, so we have NCAA action going on. NHL is in full swing, which makes my life a whole lot happier in the closeted 2-bedroom apartment that I have. That I get to watch the Islanders basically every day, and I see the Penguins, it feels like every single day. There is something to be said, Seth. I was not alive when there were 8-team divisions in any sport, like 8-team conferences where you just played those 8 teams over and over again. Baseball in the 50s, basketball in the 50s and 60s, hockey in the 30s through 60s or 70s. But, man, I've seen some battles where you get into a fight 3 days before, Butch Goring, who does the Islander broadcast, says, "Oh, don't worry, that won't be handled tonight because they're going to see each other again in 2 days, and then they'll see each other again in 2 more days, and then they'll see each other again next week." They're playing 8 times a year
against each other. Yeah, I mean, as you said, this is like the baseball divisions in the 50s, where you had 12. You had a 12 team league. In each division, each league had 6 teams, or it was a 16-team league. Each team had 8. Each league had 8 teams, and that's all they play. And for the rivalry games like Pittsburgh, with Pittsburgh Philly or Rangers Islanders or whatever it is, it's almost mental exhaustion because those games take so much out of you that it's been different. Now, I don't follow hockey the way you do because
I know every single player on the Penguins now. I've seen them 5 times in the last 3 weeks. I know every player on that damn team.
Is Tom Barrasso walking through that door?
No, he is not walking through that door.
Is Jaromir Jagr walking through that door? Is Bob
Johnson?
But
I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing still in Russia.
Probably.
Because
is Bob Johnson saying it's a great day for hockey?
Bob Johnson's dead.
I know that.
Oh, okay. So no, he's not. No, he's not saying. No, he's not saying it's a great day for hockey. No,
Are those guys saying "Damn you, David Volek"?
Somebody is. I'm not. But it's. But you get the sense of what it was like back in the 50s and 60s with rivalries, because I remember when A-Rod and Jeter were talking on the sidelines, and I think it was Goose Gossage said those guys should never talk. Like when they were on the same team. And they said, those guys should never talk. You should never talk to an opponent because you're an opponent. And when you play so many teams and so few times, I don't see the same rivalry as you do now. Like you won't. I don't know if you saw. I think it was David Pasternak, and Mika Zibanejad. I can never pronounce that guy's name on the Rangers. So at the home ice of an NHL team, the last player off the ice, it's superstition, is generally the captain or the assistant captain of the home team. Pasternak and Mika sat on the ice waiting for the other one to go off for 10 minutes and just were looking at each other. And it was a mind game. Like, it was Rangers home ice, but Pasternak is like, oh, it might have been Brad Marchand. It was somebody on the Bruins. But he was basically, he was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm getting in your head. For 10 minutes, the Zamboni is going around them. and they're on one knee looking at each other, standing on the ice, waiting for the lines to end and practice to go. It was very, very weird. But it's something that I could see that takes place when you play each other as often as you do in this type of sequence. And baseball is going to go back to regular schedules, so you won't see what you saw last year. But yeah, I could definitely see how this could be, as you said, it could be mental exhaustion when you're playing the Rangers over and over and over and over again.
And that's why a team like a Vegas, where there is no real rivalry, like they're just, the team is 3 years in existence. It could be a little bit easier for them to do this from a mental threshold, because you're not working yourself up like the Rangers. They hate the Flyers, they hate the Devils, they hate the Islanders. You can't work yourself up you can work yourself up for 6 or 7 games a year. You can't work yourself up for 30.
Correct. And the difference is with Vegas not only doesn't have a rivalry, but they have nobody close by. Like Vegas is the team that has to travel the most as opposed to other teams. So they're definitely more susceptible to the COVID crisis than, say, the Islanders or Rangers. The Islanders haven't missed a game yet, and they've barely missed – I don't think they've missed a player yet due to COVID because they take buses everywhere for all their games. I don't think they fly at all to any game. Maybe they take the train to Washington, but their defensemen, they have started 6 defensemen for every game, the same 6 for the entire year, which is a tribute to how well and how healthy they've been. But it's kind of scary thinking that they might lose one at some point and then wonder what they're going to do. But you never know. It'll be, as you say, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. So what is your take on J.J. Watt? J.J. Watt going over to the Cardinals for 2 years and $32 million. To me, that's an extreme overpay, but you're the Cardinals. You got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Well, I don't think he was getting – I think that was kind of in the ballpark of what he was going to get, whether it was Buffalo or Green Bay. Or I think what he decided was championship or weather. He went with weather. Happy wife in Arizona playing in 85-degree weather. Wife in Buffalo.
Or Cleveland.
Or Cleveland or Green Bay.
Yeah.
Although Green Bay would be a little bit easier because it's Wisconsin where he's from and went to college. I really think this was a weather issue. As strange as that sounds, because you're not going to go there. I mean, maybe DeAndre Hopkins, who went from Houston to Arizona last year in the trade that pretty much ended Bill O'Brien's career in Houston. Maybe Hopkins reached out and said, look, how good an organization it is and that they're up and coming and they need someone to support Chandler Jones. But Arizona, while talented, is not a player away from a championship. Buffalo is. Green Bay is. Cleveland maybe. So he didn't go there, and you're going to a conference division. You look at the quarterbacks. When you look at the team, forget the quarterbacks, but you look at the teams. The Rams are a Super Bowl threat. The Niners, if healthy, are a Super Bowl threat. Seattle, depending on how the Russell Wilson position plays in, are dangerous at a minimum. In Arizona, you're going to a tough division. You're not going to a team that's going to be favored to win the Super Bowl. So you're not really leaving to win a championship. I don't think the financials are going to be that different whether you went to there or Green Bay or Buffalo or whatever it is. So I think you went there because you just wanted to live in a very comfortable place.
Well, according to reports, he got about $4 million more to go there than he would have gotten in Green Bay. So he got 16.5 as opposed to 12 million. According to all reports that I've read, Cleveland
$4 million more a year or $4 million total.
$4 million more a year. So he was being offered 12 by Indy, Buffalo, and Cleveland, somewhere in that realm, maybe 13, but 16 per year is a good amount of money. I just think it's an extreme overpay. J.J. Watt is a good player, but he is no longer the dominant player that he once was. And I would be surprised if he goes back to that type of – and the Cardinals need a lot more. they're, as you said, they are not Super Bowl contenders this year, in my opinion. They still need to re-sign Kenyon Drake or get themselves another running back, understanding that running backs are fungible.
Yeah, running backs are not the issue.
They need
You
to
need a better
protect
offensive
Kyler
line.
Murray.
Yeah,
Their
you need a better offensive line.
is garbage.
They have no cornerbacks because Peterson, I believe, is a free agent, as
Yes.
is the other one. I forget his name. I don't remember if it was Robert Alford.
Jonathan Joseph, the ex.
Wow, look at you.
The ex Houston Texan. Yep.
Oh, Jonathan. Okay.
Jonathan Joseph.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's who it was. So it's it's a team that has a bunch of holes. Now, are they a playoff threat? Absolutely. But at this point, unless Kyler Murray becomes Pat Mahomes Part 2, you don't really see them going to a Green Bay or going to a Tampa Bay or going to New Orleans. Well, I don't know what New Orleans is going to be at this point because they're like $347 million over the cap. Okay, they're $70 million over the cap.
They're a fun cap exercise.
That's what they need you, man.
Bill Bardwell. Now, Bill Bardwell did a great thing on ESPN on how they can get Baldwell got down to how they could get down below the cap. It was pretty entertaining to read a conversation with all the types of restructuring and such. So definitely an interesting read if you want to check out ESPN for that. But the salary cap gymnastics that some of these teams are going to have to go through to get under that cap, that $175 to $182 million cap, and nobody's exactly sure where that will be yet.
I think it'll be about 180. That's what I've heard.
But even if it's 180, that's still $5 million less than it was last year, and $25 million less where they thought it would be. They thought if everything was according to plan 2 years ago, if things had escalated, it would have been 215. Now you're at 182, 184, and teams are going to, those middle ground free agents are going to be shut out. And teams with cap space, and there are 3 real predominant teams that have cap space. Indy has like $70 million in cap space.
Well, how much do they have now that they have Wentz? What is the impact of Wentz on the 21?
So they got down to 50. So they have 50 million. The Jets have like 65, and New England's got like 65. So, and the Jets can make it 80 without any problem whatsoever if they wanted to cut 2 guys. So it's going to be. I'm interested to see who makes out, because if you're the Jets or you're Indy or you're New England and you want a specific player, let's go back to Seth Kamen, Sean Palmer Fantasy League. We want Devontae Adams. We want to pay that premium for 1 year. You're going to give him a huge signing bonus. But are you paying for 1 year, or are you paying for multiple years? Are you going to cut this guy next year because you need money next year? Remember, money rolls over in the cap.
I think what you're looking at, I think it depends on the team. I think if you're Indy and you can get Allen Robinson or Kenny Golladay, because you need your quarterback is done. I assume Wentz will maybe not bounce back to 2017 MVP-esque numbers, but he will be a very competent quarterback under Reich. That's my guess.
Agreed.
Your running backs with Taylor and Mack and Hines are solid.
Mack's gone.
Sorry, Taylor and Hines. Your running backs are fine. You have the best offensive line in football. Your defensive line, led by DeForest Buckner. Your offensive
you got to replace Anthony Costanzo.
Okay, so you draft an offensive lineman.
In round 3.
Second round, pick up someone pick up a competent player. You still have with Ryan Kelly and with Quentin Nelson, your offensive line is still very good.
Agreed.
You have no number 1 wideout threat.
Also agreed.
So your defense kind of looking high level. You have a couple studs. You have Buckner on the D line. You have Darius Leonard, who's a stud linebacker. You need 1 or 2. You need 2 or 3 people, but you need a number 1 wideout.
You need a number 1 wideout, and you need a secondary, because that team doesn't have a secondary either.
They lost. Yeah.
Well, they've spent 2 first-round picks in the last 4 years on guys in the secondary, and those haven't panned out. including Malik Hooker. So I agree with you that they need to go get a wideout. My question is, my statement is, you're going to give Allen Robinson, let's say 5 years at $100 million. Okay, I don't think it'll get that high, but let's say
no, I don't think it will either.
Let's say it's 5 years and $100 million, and to get him, you're going to have to give him an upfront of $40 million. I'm just spitballing here, right?
I know.
Which means, and the way that contracts are structured, you want a low cap hit this year, and you're going to kick the can down the road, and that's the way that everything always works, right? And next year, you're going to take that signing bonus, that roster, and you're going to make it a roster bonus. So you're going to continually kick the can down the road, much like Ben Roethlisberger's $41.9 million cap hit this year, or Drew Brees before he restructured over 30. They continually kick the can down the road, and now it's the come to Jesus moment. If you get to next year and you see Allen Robinson at a $28 million cap hit, that's my question. Are these essentially, because you have 3 or 4 teams that have so much money and 3 or 4 teams that really need the same position, right? All 3 of those teams need the exact same position. The Jets, the Colts, Patriots all need the same position. The Jaguars, maybe. But
Jaguars don't. No, the wideouts for the Jaguars,
they're decent. Okay. They're not number one.
They have other needs. They have many more other needs.
Miami has room. Miami might need one. The teams that have cap room, most of them need wide receivers, as it turns out. So you're going to have a bidding war unless the Bears are smart and tag Allen Robinson, which would be the smartest move they could do, because you tag him and then trade him if you want to trade him. But the fact is, if you're going to sign this guy to $100 million with a $40 million cap hit or $40 million signing bonus, is this going to be an essentially one-year contract? And then next year he's back out.
I don't know.
I think you're going to see a lot of those. I think you're going to see a lot of guys that next year are back on the market.
I think you have to go team by team. If you're Indianapolis, do you think you're one play? Now, I'm not sure Robinson is the right guy. I almost think they would be better off taking not a lower tier guy, almost like a Curtis. Like they have Pittman, who I think is going to be a really good, big, rangy wideout. He's a rookie last year. He came on at the end of the year. They
have Paris Campbell still,
who we don't, has been
who they really like, but hasn't been able to stay healthy.
The Jets and Patriots need a multitude of things to become, but they're irrelevant for. Look, your best case scenario. We've talked about this. Your best case scenario is not the playoffs next year.
Nope.
Your best case scenario is you're building towards something that in 2022 or 2023 can become something legit.
Correct. But do understand. Hold on, but do understand that Allen Robinson is 27 years old, and Kenny Golladay, I believe, is 26. So these guys don't have to be next year's answer. They can be in 2 years' answer. And
understand.
You look at all the great wideout. Look, why the great players in positions don't become available often. They just don't. And they shouldn't, right? Because teams have the ability to use the tag, and they should use the tag. And Mike Florio pointed out today on ProFootballTalk.com that Matt Campbell, who is the new coach, Dan Campbell, who is the new coach of the Detroit Lions, said, if I'm Kenny Golladay, I want to be tagged. Being tagged is fantastic. I would love that money up front.
Because I got a 1 year guaranteed of the top 5 was probably about $18, $19 million.
Right. But Florio says, no, that, and I agree with Florio, that's not true. So they get 1 year guaranteed, $19 million. You don't think Kenny Golladay is making $19 million guaranteed if he's an unrestricted free agent without a tag? Of course he is. He's making probably twice that.
Because of the signing bonus and everything that goes with it.
Yeah. So that's why the tags are in existence, for teams to keep their players. That was the whole reason why the tags were brought out. That's why Reggie White was tagged the first time, And then he was let go, and people were like, whoa, wait, we got to tag these guys. Like, these guys are going to go places. And if the Bears and the Lions are smart, yes, it's a 1-year, $18 million commitment. The problem is with these teams is that they're such cap hell that to tag somebody is an automatic hit on the cap. It's an $18 million hit on the cap, which means you need to be cap compliant right away. The Jets don't have that problem. Patriots don't have that problem. The Colts don't have that problem. There are probably 5-6 teams in the NFL that don't have that problem. The rest of them, James Conner ain't going back to the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, if he comes back, needs to be restructured. All these, you're going to see a lot of extensions this year to lower cap hits, starting with the Steelers. The Steelers are an interesting breed because you have Juju Smith-Schuster as a free agent with Clay Claypool, who's
Chase Claypool.
Sorry, Chase Claypool, as a maybe number one. Do they let Schuster go? Because they're in cap hell too. And they can't tag him because if you tag him, then you are adding $18 million straight up. So Steelers are one of those teams that will be very interesting to watch, especially if Ben does not come back, because then it's left to Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins.
Or whatever quarterback they draft.
Right. So
and that's the other thing with the wideouts. You have 5 or 6 of them that are going to be going in the first round. The two from Alabama, Chase from LSU, Tony from Florida, Pitts, who's kind of the tight end flex wideout from Florida. So at a minimum, you're going to have 5. So that could take care of some of this also.
And I'm not sure you saw Mel Kiper's mock this week. He had the Jets trading down with Atlanta to 4, picking up a second, a third, and I think another second, and taking Pitts 4th overall. And once again, I declare Kyle Brady syndrome. I do not want a tight end in the top 5. For the love of God, the curse of Kyle Brady, the curse of Johnny Mitchell, the curse of any tight end the Jets have ever taken in the first 2 rounds. Please, for the love of God, this guy will turn into Derek Brown. That is what he will turn into. But
who do you want it for? Do you want Sewell?
If they're going to go at 4 and they pick up all those picks, I'm very happy with Sewell or even a wideout at that point. Like, if they want to take Chase right before the Eagles pick at 6, if they want to take the Bama wide receiver who for some reason I cannot remember, the Heisman Trophy winner who I cannot remember his name,
Devontae Smith,
who looks like he will get crushed in the NFL because he looks like he's 140 pounds soaking wet. Either one of those is fine. I liked Waddle better than either one of them. But Waddle is not a top 10 pick. You would probably trade down more.
Because I think that's who the Giants are looking at.
Yeah.
The problem is, to me, he's too similar to the wideouts they have. Again, the Giants have Slayton, who's the burner. They got Sterling Shepard, who's your consummate number 2 wideout. They don't have a number 1 because Golden Tate's going to be cut yesterday.
He's also a slot guy that's playing on the outside.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see. I assume the Giants go playmaker because they have to. Because we have no idea what this offense can be at this point. Because I don't think unless they can get a wide receiver, then if Micah Parsons is available, you draft him at 11, Penn State linebacker. Why the shit-eating grin?
When's the last time the Giants drafted a linebacker in the first round?
Remind me. Carl Banks, 1984?
Hold on. It's actually made its way through the internet numerous times, and I don't remember the actual, but I'm going to go find it for you. The last time, it was a long time ago. the last time that they drafted a linebacker in the first round was Carl Baggs in 1984. You're spot on. So that's the last.
That's why I have a radio show.
Why? Because I could pull Jonathan Joseph and you could pull Carl Baggs in 1984. But yeah, that was the last time. So it would take a lot for them to pull a linebacker in the first round.
Oh.
And I think it would make the New York sports radio show hosts, their heads, Randy Zellia's head would spin. I think he would seriously be like, wait, they know what a linebacker is in the first?
Well, the question is, there's really only one cornerback. I don't think they're going to go corner. I just don't think they're going to go corner in the first round. They've wasted too many of them in the last couple, and they have some players there. There's no defensive lineman. I don't want Russo from Miami. He's only played 1 year at 11. It's too high. The wideouts. The problem with the wideouts is, look, Chase is great, but he's not falling that far.
Nope.
And the other ones are really good, but I don't know. I don't know if I want a 6'2", 185 guy. We have that. We have our burner. We have our number 2, our possession guy. I need the big, strong guy going across the middle. And none of these guys are. I don't believe any of these guys are that. I don't think Waddle's that. I don't think Smith's that. Tony, it's too low. And I don't love the idea of Pitts at 11. And I don't want to go offensive line because we literally took 4 offensive linemen last year.
Yeah, but I'd like to see your head explode. So please take an offensive lineman just so we can see your head explode.
Would my head explode? Would this be similar to the Knicks taking Obi Toppin over
over anybody? Over anybody. It wasn't just
so angry. It was so funny.
Oh, I was furious. And you know what? It's proving correct. I'm still furious because you don't have to get Derrick Rose if you pick Tyrese Halliburton. And you don't have to give up a second-round pick that's going to be in the 30s this year if you pick Tyrese Halliburton. It's going to prove correct. And I don't say that very often that I can pick draft picks correctly. But that will not turn out well. And it will not. And we'll talk more about the NBA and where they stand because we have the All-Star break coming up this weekend in Atlanta. Somehow they're running an All-Star break in Atlanta with a slam dunk championship at halftime, which seems interesting in its own right. But that's what it is. Hopefully more of the stars will partake if it's during halftime as opposed to
you saw who's in the
I have not seen who's in it.
It's Anthony Simons from Portland.
Okay.
Obi Toppin. And there was one other guy, I don't remember who, but he was certainly not an all-star. I think they were trying to talk Zion into it, but that didn't happen.
Okay, so Obi Toppin, Anthony, Cassius Stanley. So there's only 3.
He's the rookie from Duke.
There's only 3 guys in the slam dunk championship. Yep, that's it. Oh no, there's one more open spot. Zion recently left open, but that was like 4 days ago. So who knows what will be. But the fact, who will be in the dunk championship? Nope, they still haven't picked the 4th one. But again, this will be perfect because Obi Toppin should win this. And then he'll be like Kenny Skywalker. He'll have one thing in a Knick uniform that he can point to being amazing at. And then remember, Kenny Skywalker was picked in the top 15 picks of the NBA draft, I believe in 1984. He was in the top 5?
I don't think he was 84. I think he was 85 or 86. I could be wrong.
He was, let's get that correct, the 5th overall pick in the 1986 draft.
I am awesome.
86, not 85.
I said 80, the 5th pick in either 85 or 86.
Oh, he is a 5th pick over. So he was actually picked earlier than Toppin, and the only thing that he will be remembered for in a Knick uniform is that he won a slam dunk championship. So, and his nickname was Sky because everybody remembers Kenny Skywalker. So this would actually be perfect for Obi Toppin. This should be the thing that he is remembered for. So I hope he wins, and then we can cut him in 3 years, much like we did with Kenny Walker. So I did want to get – so there was something else that came across in the last couple of days. And I can't pronounce this guy's name at all, other than his first name. Zlatan. Do you know
Ibrahimovic.
That guy? I'm really bad, really, really bad with pronunciation today. Said, athletes unite the world, politics divide. And this is coming down on – he's double downing on what he said a couple of days ago, where he was talking to LeBron James, basically saying, stay in your lane. You are an athlete. You should only be speaking about athletics. Let the politicians talk about politics. All right. I think this guy's full of shit. I'll come flat out and say it. I mean, first of all, you're not an American and you're talking about American politics. So butt the hell out. Number two, I believe when he was back in his own, I think he's from Sweden. When he was in Sweden, he actually criticized the government at some point. Like this is a couple of years ago.
Right, because he was not considered a native Swede because his last name was not Bergstrom or something like that.
So he called out the government and said that I'm being persecuted because of my last name. I think really, yeah, I heard this. This reminded me very much of Charles Barkley in that I'm not a role model. But the difference is LeBron wants to be a role model. He wants to be involved. Nobody's saying you should be a politician. Or you should have an opinion on this. He himself is saying, I have an opinion on this. This is the opposite of Charles Barkley.
Zlatan. Zlatan is one of the most interesting people in sports.
Why? Other than his last name.
Because he is the cockiest athlete I think I've ever seen. At one point, he was the third best soccer player. This is not a scrub. At one point, he was the third or fourth best soccer player in the world behind Messi and Ronaldo.
Okay.
He scored the single greatest goal I've ever seen in a soccer game, which I will send you a YouTube for because it is so awesome. But he has the biggest mouth known to man. And he's saying it, as you said, he's saying it about a country which he played couple nondescript years in couple
for
years
the LA
ago.
Galaxy.
Okay, Galaxy. But his opinion doesn't matter on a domestic stand in the U.S. He's not a worldwide phenomenon. He's a European phenomenon. In the U.S., nobody's concerned about Zlatan's views. So I didn't even think we would talk about it. And yeah, guess what? LeBron has chosen to be a role model and chosen to not shut up and dribble, which has turned out great. And Zlatan has the right to say whatever he wants, but most people have the right to not give a shit what Zlatan thinks. I think it's pretty easy.
I'm surprised that you said that nobody should give a crap of what Zlatan thinks. Because normally, not you in particular, but soccer players are international players, right? They're not necessarily from Sweden and only talk about, and you refer to him as a Swedish player. Like, that's not the way soccer works. You'll play for Real Madrid and you'll be in Spain.
Yeah, he currently plays for, I believe, Inter Milan, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so he's an international star, right?
Yes. And in Europe, he is a massive soccer star. Don't understand. This is not a guy. This is not some random guy. This guy is a mass. The only reason he wasn't bigger is for whatever reason he never really played on the Swedish international team. And I think it was because of his personality. I could be wrong, but I think that was why.
Okay, but so you say he has the right to speak, which he does, but nobody listens to him. My question is, I don't think that's true. I think lots of people listen to this guy.
I don't think people listen to him on this kind of thing. I don't think he's someone who has credibility from a political in discussing politics or discussing. Okay. If he was talking about soccer, and he was talking about sports in general, or he was talking about something potentially European based, maybe. Wow, this is the first time I got a haircut in a year. It feels so weird. But he's wrong. And I mean, it's really straightforward to me. He's wrong. And
Okay.
I don't see any great need to kind of amplify what he said. I vehemently disagree. Not obviously, but for most people, approve of what LeBron has said and what LeBron has done. Maybe not all parts of it, but a lot of it. And at the end of the day, that's especially in the U.S., Zlatan has no one cares about Zlatan's opinion in the U.S. Maybe in Europe they do, but here there's no the only impact was it was mentioned a lot on ESPN. That's the only reason it got publicity.
And it also came across my Facebook feed, and that's how I learned about it. Was
Hold
somebody
on for 30 seconds. I'll be back in 2 seconds, Sean.
Where somebody actually said truth. And to me, that's not truth. You want to speak, you're entitled to your opinion. But as I said before, LeBron doing what LeBron's doing, and let's understand, LeBron opened up the I Promise School in Akron in 2018. He provides students with free tuition, free bicycles, free transportation, breakfast and lunch each and every day. He then went to more than a vote campaign in 2020. This is not a man that's shying from the spotlight. In fact, this is a man putting forth every effort to broaden the spotlight, not necessarily on him, but on people that can't fend for themselves. He's a guy, look, I'm the first person to say that a athlete should absolutely be a role model. You are putting yourself in that situation. But for all the stuff that we talk about in athletes, there is not one time that you can point to LeBron James and said what he has done, at least publicly, has been wrong. That has been detrimental to his team, has been detrimental to himself. He has never gotten arrested. He has never gotten into trouble that we know of. And that's a big caveat that we know of. But none of that has happened. So for anybody,
I would say the only caveat to that was the decision.
But that's not trouble. That's his personal decision. That's not.
Well, there's been pretty much no negative impact.
No, I'm saying but it was negative to him.
Yes,
he didn't get into a car accident.
I think it was negative to the league. I think it was negative to ESPN.
He wasn't drunk driving. It was nothing wrong with trouble. What we would define as trouble for an athlete.
No.
Yeah, he made a bad call at age 24. Congratulations.
I've never made a bad call at age 24.
Right, exactly. At age 24 through 44, I have never made a bad call. But the fact is, you know what? Good on him. Like, seriously, good on LeBron for standing up for himself. We do have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to go first. I would like to commend the golfers that wore red this past Sunday. And I have seen on social media people that have said, why would you do this for a guy that cheated on his wife? Why would you do this for a guy that obviously was speeding? Why would you do this for a guy that caused all these problems? Well, understand that Tiger Woods caused all these problems on himself. He didn't hurt anybody. Again, self-inflicted wounds. Tiger Woods in the last 20 years has made golf the most popular it has ever been, and he deserved what he got, not in the accident. He deserved what he got by his fellow golfers recognizing how important he has been to the sport. There was absolutely nothing wrong with them wearing red, in my opinion, and I endorsed what they did, 100%. And welcome to spring training.
Was there really any controversy about it?
There was. Absolutely.
I didn't even know there was a controversy about it. To me, it was kind of logical. So I guess the one thing I kind of wanted to touch on, and I only started read about this a little while ago, was the whole issue with the University of Texas and the eyes of and you've heard about this in the alma mater, the eyes of Texas, which a lot of black players find to be racist and don't want to sing it. And you have a lot of apparently you have 70. I'm just reading from ESPN right now. 75 emails, including threats of financial retribution by donors if players don't sing.
Yeah.
Is this really where we are? If something offends other people, and I don't understand. I just don't get it. I've never understood this. Mark. We've talked about this in a variety of capacities. Why, if a song offends hundreds of thousands of people, or a flag offends hundreds of thousands of people, why? Sorry, the dog apparently agrees with me. Why exactly is this a no-brainer to get rid of the damn thing?
Wait, to keep it or to get rid of it?
What do you say? To get rid of it. Why is it a no-brainer to get? Why is it not a no-brainer?
Not a no-brainer, right? You said a no-brainer, right? So you should get rid of it. If it offends hundreds of thousands of people, in your opinion, you should absolutely get rid of it. Yes, 100%.
I find it. I just find it silly, and I find it ridiculous that if the whole point is people sing with the alma mater, that's what it is in every. And if you're playing for a team and you are offended by what you're singing, and it's reasonable to be offended by, as opposed to a one-off thing. I don't get it. I don't get people. I guess I just don't understand a lot of these things. To me, this is the easiest decision in the world.
Well, and some people are get off my lawn. This is the way it's been. This is the way it should be. This is the way it always will be.
Yeah, but the world stopped working that way in a lot of ways over the last couple of years, and especially in the last 12 to 18 months.
It should absolutely never work that way. We should never be in a standstill. We should always be trying to improve. And the 540,000 UT Austin alumni, they should be represented the same way that 5 or 6 people should. So if it offends the majority of the people, it should be gone. It's that easy. And Texas should stand up. Like you have such an amount in your bank account that you can cut Tom Herman and his staff with like $35 million available. Cut this. Whatever word you want to use. All right. For Seth Kamens, who's over there, I'm Sean Palmer over here. Next week, Seth's going to take off, I think, and we're going to do our fantasy baseball preview. So Seth will see you in 2 weeks for our NCAA brackets. We'll go from there.
Can't wait. Go Terps. Talk to you later.
Have a great week, everybody, and please wear your mask. We'll say that no more. Thanks. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.